It was absolutely repugnant.
There were riots, there were shops, restaurants,
25
bars
people were
smashed
killed.
up. Yes, exactly.
25 people. Do people even realise that? She's either entirely foolish or entirely naive, and most likely both.
Last week, America, well, in fact, the world was rocked by the awful assassination of Charlie Kirk. It wasn't just a shocking act of violence, but it lit a fuse under an already volatile country. Overnight questions have erupted over when does free speech turn into hate speech? And who draws that line? As I watch the fallout, one truth has become impossible to ignore. The rage between left and right has curdled into blind hatred. And right now, that fury is burning hottest on the left. Here with me to discuss all that is Winston Marshall, host of the brilliant Winston Marshall Show, and a man who knows a little bit about cancel culture after leaving the band Mumford Sons in 2022 to be able to speak his mind, which is something I hope you're going to be able to do tonight. Welcome to Harry Cole Saves the West. Before we get into it, look, I know you knew Charlie Kirk, you appeared on his show. Just give your reflection on the man the world has lost.
Well, I will do. I'll start by saying why I think this is such a significant moment. It's not just the horrific video we saw that was all over social media and plastered all over social media across the world. I mean, there have been people in South Korea, Japan, in London.
Yeah,
we had vigils.
Hundreds of people.
This is a young guy, 31, who clearly affected people in a way that we've not really seen from a politically, I guess, mainly political social media influencer. And he's obviously a significant member of the MAGA movement. He was head of the MAGA youth movement and led that. But why it's significant is also the reaction. And I was in the States last week and I spoke to people, some of whom are not really politically switched on or don't necessarily follow everything. But they saw this and they saw how their friends and neighbours reacted. And Charlie's opinions are mainstream conservative, an absolutely mainstream conservative boomer opinion in America. It's different. We have a different mainstream over here for the conservative thought. But over there, it's absolutely mainstream, not just for the boomers, but obviously the kids. So people saw how their friends and neighbours were reacting to someone being killed for expressing the exact values and thoughts and opinions and politics they themselves had. And so that was a real wake-up call of what we're dealing with. I think a similar thing happened October 7th here in London. Before even Israel had responded, we saw people celebrating in the streets. And then there was a moment like, oh, these are the people we're living with. These are the people we're living beside. They have horrible opinions. And by the way, sorry, this is another really important part of free speech. It's absolutely crucial we have free speech so we can see how people think, so we can see what people are thinking.
Exactly that. I think it's the most people aren't hyper engaged online. Lots of people I know who are parents didn't know who Charlie Kirk was and were texting me and asking me, who is this guy? Because my kids are asking about him.
So look, let me tell you about Charlie, because
please.
I never met him in person, but I did his show a couple of times. And I completely forgot that we'd actually messaged quite a lot. And in the messages, I just reread them, hyper curious, disagreed with me, and even on the show we disagreed on stuff, but he disagreed in a really agreeable, humble way. The sort of pugilistic college campus debate.
His signature style.
That's a type of thing he was doing, but that's not the whole picture of this guy. And actually, he is immensely intelligent and had a deep curiosity, a deep humility, and was a very, very nice bloke. I mean, that's another reason that this whole thing's horrifying. On the way here to come speak with you, we saw they've released the text message, private messages of the now charged suspect.
Yes.
And he said that he wanted to... in his opinion, Charlie Kirk was espousing a certain type of hate that could not be dealt with in any other way. This is the only way to deal with it.
Was he too good? He was too articulate. Do you think that's genuine? Well, did you believe that's why that's...
crucial about that sentence is the word hate.
Yeah.
Is that we've got to a point now where people are just terrified of hate. And it's in this country we have non-crime hate incidences and all these other hate laws. There's that conversation now being had in America, and we should talk about that. But this is really crucial in understanding how... And this is really a problem of the political left in America. And I'm really sorry people don't quite appreciate this. Charlie himself published a study in April showing that more than 50% of Americans who are left of centre think that assassinating Trump would be somewhat justified. So the majority of the political left in America think political violence is OK.
Yes.
And of course, they tried to kill Trump.
Twice.
And they actually, people forget that a fireman was killed by the bullet that grazed Trump's ear.
I think the really interesting thing as well is on that exact point. You've actually you've jumped ahead in my script here, but no, on that exact point, when people say the left have a problem with political violence, it isn't that they're all going to take up arms. It isn't they're all going to take up guns and do horrific things like this person seems to have done to Charlie Kirk. It's exactly that. It's the celebration. It's the acceptance that it's OK, and
but why it doesn't show the same on the right?
And
it is the case. You'll find political violence on the right and left, OK?
Yeah.
But the difference is that it's supported. And The Hill have just published another study showing that in America, if you're more liberal, you're more likely to support political violence. It's not just one poll that shows this.
And it's not even polls, is it? It's the fact is, after George Floyd, America, was on fire. There were riots. There were shops, restaurants,
25
bars
people were killed.
Up. Yes, exactly.
25 people. Do people even realise that?
Yeah.
I don't think they do. $2 billion worth of damage was done to businesses, as far as I can tell, many black, maybe majority black businesses, all in the name of Black Lives Matter.
That's the problem. I mean,
this whole thing has also exposed a total hypocrisy in mainstream media, in this country as well. When, let's say, Jan 6th happened, you didn't hear people going, what about the BLM riots? No, they dealt with that issue. Now this has happened. You hear everyone going, well, there's political violence on the right as well. Yeah. No, the left-wing political violence is a serious issue. And it comes down to the rhetoric. Now, they love talking about rhetoric and how divisive certain rhetoric is. But actually, and James Lindsay has done a phenomenal study on this, for decades, for 60 years, back to Foucault, the left have been laying the groundwork to equate words with violence. This goes all the way back to Foucault and that horrific gender woman, was it Judith Butler? Is that her name?
I think it is.
In 1990, she wrote a book about how misgendering is tantamount to violence. So what you have is, for decades, they've been priming young kids and ideologues to think that violence is equal to words, which means that when they see someone like Charlie Kirk and they think it's hateful, they think violence is an appropriate response.
And because he says, I don't care about your feelings. I care about facts. Facts become for your feelings. I don't care about that, and that they cannot understand that. Just on hypocrisy, I don't know if you've seen I'm sure you've seen what Pam Bondi said today, but let's show our viewers what the US Attorney General said today.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Winston Marshall, I don't think that's the legacy that Charlie Kirk should be remembered for, do you? He has literally said, when he was alive, that he did not believe in punishing hurty words with criminal action. What is Pam Bondi doing, and are we at risk of whipping up something here that is completely an anathema to what Charlie Kirk taught us?
She's either entirely foolish or entirely naive, and most likely both.
Right, and neither are good.
Right, I don't think... there's no evidence to me that anyone on the political right in America agrees with her statements there. This is the same person who's made a total fiasco of the Epstein files.
As we learned last night on our episode, but please carry on.
It's quite likely she's a moron who hasn't really thought these things through. If the Americans take up this idea of hate speech, they will turn into the disaster
the slippery slope of the United Kingdom, where Graham Linehan gets pulled off a plane for a tweet. Yes. A bad joke.
Exactly.
A quite funny joke, but a joke.
Well, exactly. And this is something that in our country is a problem that goes back decades. It goes back to the Race Relations Act from the late 60s. And since then, a bunch of laws have accreted, all in the name of tackling hate. And we've now got this sort of joke situation where people are getting lengthy prison sentences for...
Exactly, but then there is a sort of shades of grey here, isn't it? In the fact that people are losing their jobs because of what they've tweeted or put on Facebook about Charlie. That is short of being criminally prosecuted by the likes of Pam Bondi. But do you think people should, should bosses have the right to fire someone if they don't like what they said about Charlie Kirk?
Yeah, OK, so I think this probably depends on the situation.
Yeah.
So I haven't got the names. I had to look at who's been fired for comments on Charlie Kirk. The most prominent is this MSNBC fella.
Yes.
Who... I can't remember his name. I think it's...
yeah, we know...
O'Dowd.
Yeah, a former Republican strategist who was a contributor to MSNBC, yes.
He was commenting live before we knew that Kirk had died. And he said something like, it might have been one of his supporters.
Yes,
something like that. And then basically made some sort of statement, I'm sure we can dig it up, where he said, well, if you say hateful things, that, like, these sort of things are consequences. It was absolutely repugnant, his commentary. Now, he apologised. And I haven't fully looked into the apology, but it seems to me that maybe this is a case
there is grey area, yeah. But then what about doctors, nurses, teachers, pilots?
I think
public sector people, essentially, who people have to be able to, conservatives or liberals, be able to put their faith into that they're going to save their life or raise their children.
So when it comes to doctors and nurses, you cannot have a doctor or nurse who has expressed that it's OK to have someone die or killed because of their political opinion, because that person is in a place where they might have to care someone who has a different politics to them. So they can't be trusted in that job of caring for that person. Now, so that's why I say
that's where I think
the same might play here. We look at this Oxford Union kid.
Yes.
Now, this is a guy who he's the president-elect, and in some revealed WhatsApp messages, he said LOL.
He's here to delight in the death of Charlie.
Exactly, which he sort of retracted, but then he did an interview with the New Statesman and basically doubling down. He is essentially, his job as president, or would-be president, is the symbol of the institution of the Oxford Union, which is the biggest debating institution in the world. And
the most famous, yeah.
And I when I did it last year, over dinner before we do it, we raise our glasses to free speech.
Yes.
So this guy has now openly attacked free speech because he thinks it's some speech you should be killed for. How can he be the symbol for an institution that is free speech? Now, but let's just a counterexample, because some people might say, well, I'm like buying into council culture. You brought up my situation from 2021. I supported a book, coincidentally enough, that was documenting far-left extremism and far-left violence, like the 25 people killed in the BLM riots. But that had nothing to do with my job. Like, it was utterly apolitical.
Yes.
As far as I knew, my band was apolitical. At least that's what I thought.
At the time.
It might be the case that some of them had gone on stage and said Trump's the C word or whatever, and they expressed their politics, but it wasn't itself, the music wasn't political. It had nothing to do with it. So that seems completely unrelated. Likewise, J.K. Rowling, I know that she's had problems with certain institutions not wanting to work with her.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous because all she's holding is a perfectly legitimate opinion that women cannot be men, men can't be women, and women's spaces should be protected. That's a old-school feminist position, and now she's having all this pushback. So it seems ridiculous that she would have that.
This show, because the credo of this show is saving the West of what what America can learn from Britain and what mistakes Britain have made and what mistakes America's making. This is, I think, a perfect example of where America risks going down a very slippery slope that Britain has found herself in, as we've discussed. Do you think, the likes of Pam Bondi in authority, are these values of free speech, or these values of nuance, salvageable, or are we on a dangerous road?
I think the Americans understand free speech much better than we do. Actually, Trump didn't give a very good response to what Pam Bondi said, and it was pretty woolly, although I don't think he didn't really fully back her up, but he didn't make a position of...
He sort of made a joke. He said, maybe we'll come after you.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, a classic Trump joke that's, we'll send liberals around the bend for 48 hours, but actually was clearly a joke.
But if you actually look at what Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance have done, they've been better about Britain and Europe's free speech situation than the people running our country.
I totally agree.
Trump even sent, not many people know this, Telegraph reported on this, Trump sent a team to investigate the people who've been arrested
yeah.
for silent prayer. And there's been several incidences of that. You remember, of course, the superb Munich speech, which J.D. Vance gave, again addressing people who are being arrested for silent prayer in this country and charged and convicted. So these Americans understand the British or free speech in a way that we don't actually have.
Do you expect Donald Trump, you know, he's here in the United Kingdom for a couple of days, he is going to have a microphone at some point, I think on Thursday. You know, there's the Graham Linehan case, the J.K. Rowling case, the abortion clinic prayer case, Lucy Connolly. These are all on the president's radar. He has been asked, you know, he knows about them. Do you expect the president to pipe up, so to speak? And should he?
It's hard to know exactly what this... because there's a lot of... he's getting all the pomp and pageantry, right?
The grip and grin, the king and the queen.
And it's... I mean, I'm sure there'll be some political interviews and people who'll get prodded. I imagine he knows how to troll a country.
But would you like to see the president, you know, make some of these points that you've been making?
I absolutely love it, because as far as I can see, he loves Britain more than our leaders love Britain. Now, that might seem like a controversial statement, but by their fruits you shall know them. Here's a man who clearly loved the Queen, spoke very highly of her. He came on holiday here 2 months ago, up to Scotland to play his golf. He famously put the Churchill bust back into the White House Oval Office. Compare that to Keir Starmer, who's paying to get rid of the Chagos Islands, so he clearly is not interested in the British Empire. He removed... what did he remove from Downing Street? I think
Shakespeare, Elizabeth. He doesn't like... he said he doesn't like eyeballs.
Walter Raleigh. This is a guy
convenient.
that seems to be rejecting British history and British culture. He is clueless when it comes to free speech. He says he loves our tradition of free speech. Well, I'd love to hear him define exactly what that is. He doesn't seem to have a clue.
Well, he says free speech in this country exists, and it will for a very long time, and that's all he's ever says. But it's clearly not the case.
Yeah, nonsense.
Winston Marshall, thank you very much for joining us on Saves the West. A tour de force coming again soon, yes? No, thank you.